It's the 3rd of June, 2017, and an incident happened in Los Angeles, I believe it was last week, at a residence owned by NBA superstar LeBron James, where it seems that, and I believe it was in spray paint, a racial epitaph was spray painted on his gate or there at the entrance of his house. And definitely on the surface, I mean, that's an atrocious thing for anyone to do, or for something to happen to someone, regardless if it's their individual person, their property, whatever, or just societal in general. But it brought up a couple of different things. We're talking about like social, economic status. LeBron James is definitely in the upper sphere of any American, regardless of race, age group, whatever religion, whatever the case might be, whenever it comes to wealth and status. And one of the things that's kind of come from this is if LeBron James himself, in the area of life in which he is, has fallen prey to this type of behavior, then what's there for the least among us, if you will, socioeconomic or racial status? And these are legitimate questions. They're very legitimate questions. But it also brings up, instances where, and I'll be 40 in a couple of days, where even definitely in my lifetime, there's been these type claims of a social injustice or racial epitaph, so on and so forth, that ended up not being factual. You even have had cases, and whenever I say this, give this example, by no means am I stating that I believe that LeBron James was a part of this incident that took place. I don't know who did it. I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if it was somebody who was white or black or brown or yellow or red, green, polka dotted. I don't know who did it. None of us know at this point in time, as far as I'm understanding. No one knows who might have done it. But there was a story that was out of Boston, Massachusetts last year. I believe it was Boston, where you had a biracial family. It was a white mother and wife and a black father and husband. And on their house was spray painted in some sort of a graffiti way, racial epitaphs and so on and so forth. Well, it definitely made big news up in the Boston, Massachusetts area. And I live here in North Georgia, in Marietta, and it made our local news down here. Anytime something to do with race takes place, there's always going to be certain outlets that are going to definitely gravitate towards it, because it's something that's going to attract eyeballs and readers. But you had the Duke lacrosse situation in 2006. You had 3 Duke players who was accused of this black female who was an exotic dancer and stripper, had made this claim that she was raped at a Duke lacrosse party. And so before even the players were named, you have this just uproar. And rightly so. If a woman is raped, I mean, that is a violent crime, regardless of who the perpetrator might be and who the victim might be. So you definitely had this uproar because of the rape. When you add into the socioeconomic statuses of the stripper and the kids that was later accused, you have another element, okay? But it all ended up being a complete fabricated lie, and it was even perpetrated at the highest levels of government within the local government there at Durham with the district attorney. And even there's been an ESPN 30 for 30 special that came out last year that covered it, and even he knew very early on in the investigation that there was the likelihood, because of the DNA evidence, there was no case. Michael Brown is a situation where the nation was uproared over a black youth, a week or two before he was going to go to college, was shot by a white police officer. Ended up, the police officer was 100% justified in shooting of the black youth because of the conditions in which the interaction took place. And again, the whole country got in this uproar and so on and so forth. Which these issues, whenever it comes to the socioeconomic aspects and the racial aspects of it, is pushed by a media that wants, especially from an economic standpoint, they want, people to be tuning into them and buying into their coverage of it because it's profit. The LeBron James issue, I don't know how that's going to turn out. I don't. I hope it ends up being, dealt with appropriately, regardless of who the person was who wrote the racial epitaph. And I hope that we can all just, whenever it comes to these issues moving forward, is in the military, the military is one of the greatest apparatuses whenever it comes to leveling the playing field, if you will, as far as how we look at each other when it comes to race. And the reason for that is because you literally have to depend on the other individual person, regardless if you look like them or not, regardless if you like them or not, regardless if you've ever met anyone like them before or not. And whenever you depend on someone else to be there for you and in your life and you for them, there's a great deal of respect that comes with that. And again, you're not going to like every single person. But in the military, we had in the Army, we had this statement, and oftentimes we would use it whenever we didn't agree with something. But it was a way of handling on the here and now, so you didn't get so bent out of shape on something. And that was literally just checking Roger, okay? And what that really means is, you come across a situation and, you're not in a position right then and there to make the change you would like to see made. But, a mission might have been handed down and it has to get completed. So, all right, checking Roger, I got it. And you move out, okay, kind of a deal. And I think what we have to do in the country is we need to kind of take more of that approach and not get so bent out of shape about what we hear. Because what we hear oftentimes is not the case. Oftentimes it is the case. But only time and letting the process play out are we going to understand fully that is truly what's going on, if something did indeed happen. And if it did, then it needs to be dealt with appropriately. But what happens, unfortunately, is we end up attacking one another, regardless if we want to attack each other or not, because certain things happen. If I had the answer, and I don't, if I had the answer in how to completely eliminate racism and discriminatory actions, I would do it in a heartbeat. And I can guarantee every just person who might come across this video would feel the same way, regardless if you're white or you're black or you're brown or you're yellow or you're red or you're polka dotted. The overwhelming majority of people, regardless if you get along with one another or not, the overwhelming majority of people in this world are decent people. And I think whenever we start, and if we can get to the point where we take that approach, that X person is a decent person, regardless if they look like me, regardless if they come from the same social economic status as I do, because discrimination goes all the way across the board. It's not just a racial thing; it's a social economic thing. It's a religious thing. It's just political party thing. I like this sports team. My main rival is this other team in my team's conference, and anybody who likes that team, I hate them. Kind of a deal. So these kind of behaviors and acts, I mean, they don't start and stop with race. And I don't look at things in a collective mindset. Okay, I think that is a very destructive way of looking at things. I take individuals, my individuals. You treat me with kindness and respect, I treat you with kindness and respect. And even if you don't treat me with kindness and respect, if you're not trying to hurt me, I'm still going to treat you with kindness and respect. Within reason, of course. But, there's a multitude of different areas that if I was to go into a longer video with this, I would go into. Into the political aspect of things, and I might even do that in another video, I don't know. But because there's definitely political interactions that have, exasperated the issues in which we deal with today. I don't know if LeBron's, issue is a white issue, a black issue, a personal issue. I don't know. I know it's a sad issue. I know it's something that, regardless if we want to as Americans to, deal with, if we want to deal with it or not. But if we do deal with it, then let's deal with it with a level of understanding that just because someone might not agree with what my individual viewpoint is, that we don't dehumane the individual person and say, well, they're illegitimate. You'll never understand because X. Because if we look at it where, in the context, and again, discrimination goes across the board of anybody and everybody in this country and in this world can be, has been, and will be, to some degree, a victim of some sort of discrimination. And regardless if it's racial or whatever the case might be. And sometimes you're a victim of discrimination in a multitude of different areas. But if we're able to take the overall context and conditions of which someone might be and say, okay, well, there's so many parallels, then we can actually have a little bit more of an honest conversation whenever it comes to these issues. And we can at least come to the point where we can agree that it's a whole lot bigger than what we thought it was. And if that's the case, then we can say, okay, what can we do to not get so wrapped up in reacting without all of the individual facts, and whenever these situations take place. And again, there's so many different portions of these issues that I could go into, and but I think we would lose the audience. But anyway, it's sad when anyone, regardless of whoever it is, falls prey to some sort of act of discrimination, regardless of whatever it is. Do I really think that black people hate each other in America? No, I don't. I don't think that in the least little bit. There's definitely conflict from time to time that come across our paths. Sometimes it's really, great. Sometimes it's really small. But if we can just take a step back and respect each other for who we are as individual, not as a collective, but as an individual person, and treat them individually based on individual actions and traits and so on and so forth, then I think the country would start to really be able to move past looking at these things in a collective aspect. We look at things in a collective aspect, all it can do is pit one group of people against another, when we should all individually be able to make up our own individual minds on things and just treat people as individuals. But anyway, I mean, it's something that's been on my heart. I hate this stuff. On a personal nature, I don't like division. I don't. You know, I'm not scared to talk about this kind of stuff, but I just don't like, you know, any of this stuff. And then, you know, the media gets into it and, you know, can twist it any way they want to. And then because we're human people, we believe certain things, we feel certain things, and we've all experienced certain things, and we bring these beliefs and these experiences into the discussion. And next thing you know, you have people who've known each other for 20 years, and they no longer like each other because of something that happened to people they don't even know. So, but anyway, so if you like the video, like it. If you didn't like it, you know, put a thumbs down, comment, and, you know, and let's just all literally just take a step back whenever it comes to these issues, because guess what? Tomorrow or in a week or 2 weeks or something else going to take place that we're going to see on the news and act as that's never happened before. So let's just all take a chill pill and just understand, you know, individual points of view, respect individual points of view, and, you know, do our check and Roger, and let's just move forward. Okay. All right. Have a good day. Bye.